Okay, hello everybody, and welcome to today's session. Really happy to have Jeff back with us again. So this is week 4, advanced character design and foreshortening. And you may be wondering what that means, and you will find out. And I think it's really fascinating. I'm really excited that we're have Jeff with us to finish off this character design masterclass. So my name's Tom Sternad. Again, thanks for joining us. You can rewatch this, so you can follow along. We hope that you've been creating your own character and working on your own designs. At the end, we'll put up Jeff's email, and you can email him, send some concepts, ideas. If you have any technical questions, about what you're doing with the characters, and you're stuck with something, just send Jeff an email and be happy to discuss things. If you have questions generally about the creator space and computers or programming, you can email me as well. I'll put my email up in the chat. And yeah, we'll go from there. So again, what we're using is the Procreate software for iPads. You can access those with our computers at the available through the library partners. So Blue Mountains Public Library has an iPad Pro with an Apple Pencil, for example, and then the other libraries have iPads as well. We have some iPads coming to the Collingwood Public Library soon as well with Apple Pencil. So really excited to have that whole these kits available. So, and if you have one, you can start out. You can use non-Apple pencils, or even start with your hands. But I think you'll really enjoy it if you can get an Apple Pencil. It's a great treat if you can kind of add that to your kit. So, anyways, without further ado, I want to just thank all our partners in this. So, Canada Council for the Arts, we have our library partners: Blue Mountains Public Library, Collingwood Public Library, Wissahicky Beach Public Library, and without any further ado, here is Jeff.
Thank you, Tom, and I'm really happy to be with you again this morning. We're going to have a lot of fun learning about some uh, making our character sheets, being a little, get the character down as much as we can for each time we draw them, and a little bit of application, so a little direction on application of these character sheets. And today. We've already, in previous weeks, we've done the basic character sheet where we've had a character showing them from front, back, and side. And today we're going to take it one step further. We're going to put them in a 3/4 perspective view, front and back. But because we're doing that, it's going to throw off, I think, the very important factor that I've been trying to bring through to you during the last 3 weeks is the proportions have to be the same when you get your character down to the point where you're doing a model sheet for yourself or for other artists to refer to as you draw your character from time to time. And but then this next view, it will require seeing them in kind of at an angle where it's sort of half front and half side. Both front and back. So it's very important, though, because you still have to maintain those volumes, make sure the volumes are the same, but obviously the lengths and distances are going to be a little different because you're not seeing them from the straight on angle, and that's what we were doing with the very straight on front, straight on back, and the straight on exactly the side view. Now, for some cartoons, that's all you need is your front, back, and rear, side views, and that will get you through. But it really helps you to be a better artist if you can see that 3/4 view. And we're going to explore that quite a bit today, and we're going to do some discussion about how we can keep it looking like the volumes are the same, even though they aren't. What we're drawing is an illusion. So I'm going to go to my pad now, see if I can adjust my camera here, and just adjust this platform here, and I will set down my camera, and we'll move over to my tablet, and we're going to have move that into view here, and we'll hopefully can see that okay. Let's see, let's turn that so we have a little better view of it. And it's a little darkened right now, so let's brighten that up here, and we'll follow along with the view we have of the tablet as well. So I'm going to just zoom in here. I hope that's visible there on the screen, and just show you what I have here. It's a black kind of a rough drawing of the layers here. And this is, of course, our front view that we had. Let's go back here to this view here. We're just going to adjust this a little bit here. Now you'll see how the volumes are not quite the same on here, and they're different. Like here we have on this character's arms, for example, we endeavored to make it perfectly symmetrical. Well, we're at a view here where we can't do that. They're in perspective. They're in a different position. Now this arm will be closer on the right side, will be closer to what we originally had, and we can make it a little closer, but it's not going to be exactly the same because the arms are leaning back and then pushing forward to the hips here. And I'll just try to draw that angle there. You'll notice though here as we go to the left arm, it's a little less the length is different, but we should try to endeavor to keep those volumes the same. Like the width of the arm, that still doesn't change because that is the illusion that we're showing, is that it is symmetrical. In fact, it isn't in the drawing, but it is in our little perspective that we are trying to create here. And you'll notice that this forearm here, let's take a look here. This is the forearm here. I'll just make a length, sort of like well, let's see, a diagram, a draftsman diagram. You'll see how much difference there is between the forearm from elbow to wrist on the right arm to the forearm and wrist of the left arm. And even in the, excuse me, allergies. I beg your pardon. I didn't mean to do that. It was an allergies sneeze. I've had my COVID shots. I've had both shots, so I should be good to go from now on. And so we have the same issue with both the forearm and upper arm are shorter on the left arm. Now, it's not that it is shorter. It's just that it appears shorter. And that's what we did, the illusion we created when we made this 3/4 view. So we're seeing both front and side in the same view, most of it. And as you'll see, it gives you a little more feel for the character and its movement here, which is great. Which is exactly what we want as we do that, as we draw our character. And you'll see the abdomen here is in perspective too. It's kind of rounded. It's the same, basically the same volume, but it's sort of the in between the front and side. And that's what we're trying to do here. And that's what you can do when you do 3D characters in 3D animation. That's the sort of thing you do when you build a design for a character. So we're doing it by by perspective and by volumes that we've been learning. And then we're going to take a look here at the rear view, and it's amazing how these two views, the front 3/4 and the back 3/4, have given the character a lot more depth, a lot more feel, that feeling of, and you notice the same issue here. The left forearm is still shorter than the right forearm because of the view. Now you can flip this view too, and let's just even do that. I think we can just take this and flip it. Let's go to our taskbar here and go to flip horizontal. And you can get it so that now it's the left arm that's bigger than the right arm. So this is what you can do when you're designing characters. You can flip it and create these wonderful, do it from the reverse side. So this is foreshortening, basically. You notice the legs too. The foot is smaller here because it's actually turned so that the main part of the foot, or the extended part of the foot, is kind of obstructed by the leg, and that's 3/4 view. It probably would be, and yet here in the right leg, it's showing in full form. So, which is great. It's what we aim to do here. So So let's go back to, oh golly, I think I just might have destroyed that. Let's see if I can do our undo tool. Didn't intend to do that. Let's see if I can, through our undo tool, bring that back to the size we had it. There we go. I think we're back to what we had originally. So I think we're good. So yeah, just the undo tool. It really saves your life sometimes. Because otherwise it would be a lot of redrawing. But don't consider that to be the end of the world. If you redraw it, you probably figure out some shortcuts and probably do it better next time. Don't always think that that's the worst thing in the world, but it is a good thing to have your undo tool on your iPad. So again, we tried to keep the volumes the same. Now, in perspective, what I've done is I've kind of tried to find the spot here where, but I think I've made the volumes too big here. This is a little smaller than this area here, and I think I need to just kind of work on that a bit. Yeah, you'll note that I am quite picky about these things, and it's from having worked in a professional atmosphere where this sort of thing it wasn't tolerated, where you had to create something that was consistent and it helped my art a lot. So I don't I'm not certainly not saying with a complaint in my voice, because it was good. It was all good. There we go. We'll just add those details there. Again, we're keeping the proportions the same as we can. I did notice that I thought the abdomen here was a little wider, so I think that would be something I would do, is take the volume of that down a bit on this 3/4 back view. Just looked like it was a little too wide, so it looks consistent with the other views. But anyway, I think you see what I mean, and it also helps me as an artist think of this character who may be the star of my comic or animation piece, or may not be. This may be a secondary character, and you can use this view, for example, in a scene where they're reacting to something another character's doing, and you see them from the back, and it's good to be able to know what your character looks at all sides, all angles. You could get into more sophisticated angles like top and bottom, and you can do that with this technique that I'm going to be exploring today, and that is foreshortening. And it's probably more applicable to your superhero than your cartoony character. We're just going to now take a look at our superhero character. And as you can see, I've done the same thing. I've done the 3/4 view, and again, we have the, oops, I better get the right layer there. Here we go. And again, I've taken the for the forearms are pretty much the same. There's a little difference there. But the forearms, again, it's a little shorter here. Actually, a little longer here. And then on this one here, which is foreshortened a bit because it's turning actually toward the camera or the eye, it's actually a little shorter. You'll note too, if you just how much shorter that is than this one. And that's because this is still kind of at the this extended angle, and this is more turned toward the camera a bit, so it appears to be shorter, but it actually isn't. And the face, again, too, the proportions are generally the same. I'm not terribly happy with that head shape, but I think that's pretty much what I want. It's got the same volume there as what it has throughout. I want to keep that volume the same. And the face, of course, the chin and the small nose and the small mouth here area. So that stays pretty consistent. But again, we have try to keep that body, that midsection, keep it consistent with the other, and kind of keep those design lines similar. And again, the legs, we have the one leg is kind of, the foot is shorter because it's pointing toward the camera. The one is a little longer here because it's pointing outward as it would on this side view with this 3/4 front three-quarter view is that right foot is a little pointed a little more toward the camera, so it's appears to be a little shorter, the foreshortening concept. And then because the left foot is pointing away or outwards, it's appears to be a little larger. We'll get into that very shortly. And then here's our three-quarter rear view. And what I really like about these is that it just gives your character that much more depth, and you feel like this is a 3D character because you can see because it is foreshortened, it does give the effect that it is it's a 3D effect basically. And we'll get into that not too much later, very very shortly. Oh, and the back too. So we have the back is rounding out here, so this would be the center of the back in this area here where I have the blue line, and it would come out here. And if we were doing it from the front, let's just do a dotted jagged line here from the front. So the center would be about where this dotted line is I'm creating here. And then the back of the skull would be probably back here going down here. And then from the front, it would be about here somewhere, going to between where the eyes would appear. And of course, we'd have the other bulbous eye in this area somewhere. We'd just put a dotted line here where that would be. And we just imagine where that is. We aren't actually seeing that. But we do have the hint of the chin and the jaw here. That's still visible. You can just clean that up a bit there and give it a little more, the way it should look in perspective. And we can put a little notch here too, if for the jawline as well. And there we go. If we've got our three-quarter view, and so this would be, you'd probably use this view quite a lot if you're doing the character in a comic, and it would be, especially when they're talking or they're, in some sort of communication with another character, you'd probably see them a lot in this view. And as they're reacting to another character, you'd probably see them a lot in this view. It's certainly something I would do anyway. That's maybe a personal thing. It wouldn't be something necessarily everyone would do. And I'm just going to turn this back to the camera. Sorry, back to me. And I'm going to introduce a superhero character that would be in foreshortening. Now, I guess I should actually give you an example that would come about in your everyday life. If you happen to drive a vehicle, a tractor or a truck or a car, on the one mirror it'll say all objects appear larger than they really are. And this is basically a type of mirror, that a fisheye lens mirror, which convex mirror, I think, or concave, I can't remember the term, but it makes things that are closer to the mirror look like they're bigger than the rest of the object. So, and that's something that we can do in real life too. So I've got this Superman action figure here that I bought, so you can see what his proportions are here if you're looking at him straight on. But if we turn him toward the camera here, you'll note that his this arm here that's closer to the camera looks huge compared to now this one here on the right side. And that is the concept of foreshortening. And that's the concept we're going to be talking about today, when we've already explored it in the cartoons. And we'll be able to, you can do that this way too, have the hand looking big, and the front knee looking larger than the back knee, which you can't see at all. This left leg here, I guess it is, that you almost can't see it at all, but this right leg you can see for the thigh and very visibly, and the chest is foreshortened, and the neck it's almost like you can't see any of the bottom part of the chest there. And the same with here, and you can do it also from the bottom side here. You can't really tell what's going on, but here you can have the bottom foot, which is closer to the camera, looking larger, and the one that's a little further up and of course here the lower arm is looking smaller, or yes, actually larger than that top arm. So because it's this is closer to the camera or to your eye than this part. So we're going to do a bit of exploration of that today, and I can even show you an example from a comic book, how to draw comics book, how to draw comics the Marvel way too. It's but first we'll get into the concepts of drawing using foreshortening, and explore some of the great artists who have done that in our exploration here. So we have let's go back to our cartoony character here. Okay, so you can do it for cartoony drawings as well. This is just something I tossed off as I was working away to do some of my work, and this is showing perspective. You'll notice the lower leg on the right side is closer to the camera, so it's larger, and it can be quite effective in comics. I don't know if you've ever seen any animation where you have a character running toward the camera, but you can do that, and it's just making sure you keep the proportions the way they should be in perspective. So if this figure is if they were actually, you're looking from the side, they would actually be something like this. I'm just going to yeah, this was to show our character, so I'm just going to redraw this and probably just erase this character here to show what his normal proportions were. We'll just kind of draw the same character in the same sort of motion, but running from the side. Just to move in a bit here, so they'd be leaned forward as they would be in that side front view, and their hands would be exactly the same size because they are symmetrical, and they would be running this way. So we'll try to draw the two hands here, and this right foot would be out ahead, so we'll show it out forward here, and then that back foot would be away. So if you're drawing it from the side, this would be something like what you'd come up with. I'm just doing a gesture drawing here to illustrate my point, but that would be something about what you'd come up with. And as you can see, it's not as interesting to look at as this is. And this is what part of what, when I learned I could do this with cartoons, it was a lot of fun. It was, and when I learned I could do it with this technique, which is used primarily in superhero comics, use it in gag cartoons or cartoony comics as well, in animations. It was a lot of fun. It was a great learning experience here. So here we go. And this is something you can choose for yourself too, as you're drawing a comic, which works best for you. You might be doing a comic where this does work better for you, this side view, because it helps with your composition maybe better, having a character running like this. But maybe you'll find that this dynamic pose would kind of build the tension, or would kind of meet the mood better than this view. And it's certainly something to consider, that, and even just as an artist to explore drawing it, it's a lot of fun. I think it's a lot of fun anyway. And let's look at the feet here. I mean, I think it looks great to have the 1 foot huge and coming toward you, and it affects you as a viewer too. I think if you have a drawing where it's almost exploding out of the page right at you, it does have an effect on you, and it can certainly have an impact on you as a reader. So there's something to consider in that way as well. Let's have a look now at the superhero foreshortening. This is a great artist named Jack Kirby really perfected this with Marvel Comics. He was in Timely Comics, I believe. Before that, this would be maybe during or at least at the end of the Second World War. I think during the Second World War too is when comics were quite big in the United States. And he perfected doing this sort of thing where he would have a character doing this sort of pose, and it was very impactful. You've got this big fist coming out almost right at you, right in your face, and this character who got this very aggressive look on his face, and it certainly does get a rise out of the reader. And of course, the boot coming right at you, almost leaping over top of you. It's quite so. It's quite exciting as a viewer. So foreshortening, it should be a good mixture of perspective, exaggeration, and dynamism. So it is basically a good tool to show to develop excitement, I guess, for the reader and for the viewer. And it should be in perspective too. It should be if you had the this shoulder bigger than this one, for example, let's say this left shoulder was the bigger one and this right one was smaller, it wouldn't be as exciting to look at, or it wouldn't be, if they were exactly the same proportion in this drawing, it would be not as interesting to look at. But because they are out of, they don't look unusual, because I think our eyes tend to recognize that when things are in perspective like this, that they look somewhat normal. We sort of put together what's going on, even though it's exaggerated like this. These parts are exaggerated big time to get the effect across, and I love to do that. I just love to exaggerate it a bit to kind of drive it home. And as I read some of the great Marvel Comics cartoonists, like Jack Kirby is a name some of you might be familiar with. Gene Colan was an artist that I admired a lot when I was younger. I loved reading the Daredevil comics and some of his horror comics when I was younger. And he was very much a student of Jack Kirby and could do these effects so well. And I can see more Gene Colan in this drawing than I see of Jack Kirby's, because I think that's who I learned from. That was he was my Gene the Dean. He taught me a lot. And so there you go. It's a dramatic effect that you can really make work. Let's just so you get a good idea of how we do this, let's take this a little further with the superhero thing. We can create some little drawings here, some little sketches. Let's just kind of play with it a bit, do some gesture sketches. This is a lot of fun to just kind of put your superhero figure here and into some, using the shapes that we've been using to create the effects that we've been doing. Yeah, let's just do some gestures that aren't really aren't going to be full sketches. These will be gesture sketches that will build. You could build into a full character at some point. Just use the old balloons and bubbles technique here. Here we have a superhero with a big fist punching here. You get the foreshortening of the arms and the forearm and the fist here. A lot of fun to do this. You just do a few gestures here. This is just one view of it. You can do, if we kind of put more details on this, we'd see this was the head, the nose, the mouth, the four fist, and the knuckles, and the closed fist here, and of course the huge forearm, which really isn't that huge, but we've made it dramatically bigger the effect of the drawing. And then the back fist. So as you see, we've got action everywhere. We've got kind of got the whole body spread out here. We've got him punching with the left arm and with the right arm to catch him, to help him catch his balance as he's making this very thrusting punch here. And he, she, or they. And then the back foot here, basically the left foot is reacting to. Let's do another quickie here. What we could do. Just kind of dream for a second. Let's see if I can get the screen to move down here. And let's see what other pose could we do. Let's do one from the other angle, as I was showing you. You can do the opposite angle too, where somebody is going upwards. So anything from the bottom is looking bigger than the anything at the top. So we'll just do a gesture here. So this fist here, this would be on the right side of the body, and they're looking upward here. And this would be their left arm going up, and it would be a bit smaller. And so anything in the lower part of closer to you would be larger. Obviously, it would be. Let's just adjust this thigh here and the foot. This huge foot at the bottom here. A lot of fun. So you can play with these gesture poses, and then remember that you're going to have to come up with believable details for the musculature and the placement of fingers and hands and nose and teeth and eyes and whatever, what have you. But this is another example of foreshortening from the opposite direction. With anything far away from the eye, this is a character flying, basically, and this would be the opposite effect of what we have on the left side here. So the face and the hand could still look pretty big, but they, perspective-wise, they'd be a fair bit smaller than what's closer to you here. So we'd give the fist here, probably give a little bit of detail there. Yeah, so there's an example of perspective from the two sides of foreshortening, that is. And there you have it. So let's go back to our roughs here. Let's go back to our cartoony one that we had. That was a fun one here that we had going. Okay, so we could do a foreshortening similar to that. I'm just going to erase our running character here, how he would look from a side view, and perhaps even do it. This will be something that we can maybe a flying cartoony guy here. Let's try to do the same thing as we did with the other character there. So he's got a pear shape that indicates he's a cartoony guy, and he's got a round head, and one huge leg here. This is the leg that's closest to the camera, and of course this leg a little shorter, which should be up here. So this, I would probably make this the front leg, which would be your right leg, and then have the kind of the leg here, and have the inside leg, let's make it a bit shorter, even just make it a little more obscured here because it's coming from the other direction. And And we've got a cartoony character, so his ear will be pretty big, and he's got a pretty big nose. And a short little cape here. And you can see we can still get the same effect with our cartoony type characters too. And still pretty interesting effect. Whereas in real life, they probably look something like this. And you know, you might decide this is a better way to do it. You know, the character actually in perfect side view would be maybe more like this. And everything in perspective, and this front foot here like that, and this back foot, or I guess it would be the front foot in exact proportion, everything in exact volume and in exact proportion this way. So which is more interesting to you, this way or this way? It depends on what your final production will produce, and that's the fun about doing this, is that you can learn a lot about what you like about drawing these characters. Do you like to do things in perfect proportion and in perfect perspective, or foreshortening things, giving things a little depth and a little a little movement, I guess you'd say, in a way? So it's the whole nature of the beast is just to keep drawing and to keep exploring what you like to draw, how it applies to what your project is. It may be exactly what you're looking for. It may have nothing to add to it, but it's worth exploring. And it's having done both superhero-y and having been a fan of both superhero cartoons and cartoony cartoons, it really helps me with my perspective. So let's go back over what we've explored today. We have our exciting, cartoony, rough praying mantis character, and we're gonna. Some of you will see him for the last time. I may explore him a bit more because I think he's quite interesting. There you have him. You've seen him from all angles, and we've seen him from the opposite angles too. Let's go to this, and we can go to our arrow tool here, and we can flip that horizontal so we can see them from the character from the opposite way as well. And then we can just flip vertical again, and we learned how this is no longer symmetrical, and the 3/4 front and 3/4 side view, 3/4 back view, rather, and the proportions are no longer exactly the same. The arm and forearm and back arm, the legs, the head, they're whatever's closer to us or whatever's bent or angled in a certain way is symmetrical, but it's no longer at the view where it will look symmetrical. So this on the left side, which is a bit obscured, and actually it's actually the proportions are different because it's not the same angle as what we have on the right side. And the same with our front 3/4 view. It appears to be shorter, but because we recognize it's a 3/4 view where we're not seeing it directly from the front or from the side, we recognize, your eye should recognize that we're seeing it in perspective. We're seeing it, hopefully the volumes are staying the same, but the perspective is different for both those arms, and the same with the legs and feet. It's the same in the face as well. The face is not proportionate, or sorry, it is proportionate in a way. It's not symmetrical anymore. It's hopefully the proportions are similar and the same even. And the same with our 3/4 rear view. It's the proportions are the same. They just don't look symmetrical anymore. We just have the illusion of it being in perspective. Okay, so that's our cartoony cartoon. Let's go to our superhero cartoony cartoon here, and the same thing. You get a 3D effect because the symmetry is basically gone, but we still have the effect that the character is doing the turnaround as we have it going throughout the rest of the drawing. So you have the character turning around. Let's just do what we did before too here and flip our character to be, hit our arrow tool and flip horizontal. And we can do the same thing. You can make your character 3/4 views looking to the other way, from looking toward the left of the screen. It's something to explore. It should be, hopefully it's a lot of fun for you and that you get something out of doing that. And it helps you to explore the character. And then we talked about foreshortening. That's the cartoony foreshortening, where you can take a cartoon character and create a really neat effect for the reader by having them go toward the camera or away from the camera, as we have here in this one too. And it's very effective for cartoons as well as superhero comics. And then, of course, our superhero, our Gene Colan character, jumping out toward the camera. And this would be a fun thing for a splash page or a character, introducing a character in your new comics, Unicorn Man. It's a fun way to draw, and it's for the reader, very interesting to look at. And again, our lesson is perspective. The perspective is a big part of it. It's basically two-part perspective. We've already done that part of it, but doing characters, we haven't really explored it, and this is where you can really have fun with the perspective. The exaggeration, you can exaggerate some of the movements and even some of the depth of the body part, sort of the old mirror that all objects may appear closer than they really are, sort of impact. And then dynamism, it really helps to give your drawings impact, dynamism, action, depth. You can play with the light here too in the character. Like you can have a lot of fun if you like affecting lighting in your cartoon, which we've explored that. So these are all techniques which can work together to give you a really interesting comic and or interesting feature that you're working on. And then when you get to your final drawings, that's which I wish I had done today, but you take a look at some Marvel comics or any kind of comics out there, the superhero comics, and you'll find a few I'm sure that you'll like, and just test yourself on a regular basis. If you're just sitting there sketching, maybe this. I'm looking at this and thinking I could improve on that. I like that. There's something about that I like. I can really I could have fun with that and make it better down the road. So don't give up the playing, the experimental process. It's certainly good for you, and I think it's helped me. It certainly helped me, my enjoyment of what I do, and it's not something I started out thinking that I could do. In fact, I would look at the comics because they could do something I couldn't do. But you will hopefully have the ability to explore it, what you would like to do. So let's go back to our superhero template here, and okay. And where were we? I'm completely lost. Here we are. Okay, and this is where we started from, and we hopefully explored enough for you today to get you on your way. I'll just bring my camera back toward me, and hopefully we can get this back up here again. And I'm going to, at this time, just turn it over to Tom and see if we have any questions. And
perfect. Thanks, Jeff. Oops.
How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way, which is a great a great book. And it's one that I didn't get until I'd been drawing professionally for a few years because I couldn't afford it. But it was one of the things it says is hold a on to, if as things are tilted from your eye, they seem to be flattened out or become shorter, and that's where the word foreshorten comes from. The objects get shorter as they're tilted towards the fore. So that will be that can be your your shot for something to shoot for as you practice this.
Perfect. Thanks, Jeff. Yeah, sorry, I was just had to connect my camera back in there, but hopefully you can hear me still too. Yeah, so yeah, that's fantastic. I'm just gonna put on the screen here for Jeff's email, jeffwilsonmentorship@gmail.com. So you can send Jeff an email if you have questions about this, if you want to share your character design and get some feedback from Jeff, or if you're stuck on any of these things, or as you review, if some questions arise, feel free to send him an email. Want to mention that next week we start another masterclass, so definitely please sign up for that if you haven't done so already. We'll be continuing these throughout the next few months online, so please keep with us, and you'll keep learning and exploring on this adventure of digital illustration and cartooning and character designs and everything and so on. So yeah, that was fantastic, Jeff. I'm just looking if there's any Q&A questions coming up, but what I'll probably do is just leave it with the email, and yeah, if you want to just I'll throw it back to you, Jeff. You could, if you want to just do a sign off, and yeah, perfect. Here we go.
No, that's great. Well, it is. I kind of went through a lot today, and I'm sorry if it was too much, but it is sort of a topic that is it's on topic with the character design, but because it was these views were so a little more concepts that were a little more complex. I felt I needed to go into the foreshortening to kind of put it all together. So I hope that wasn't too much information overload, but I just hope you'll play with this and explore it. And yeah, by all means, let me know how you're doing with it. Let me know if it helped, or if it's hindered you, or anything you've experienced. I'd be happy to hear from you, and if I can help you out with anything. And it's really good to be able to share it with you. And thanks for all our partners, and for you, Tom, for helping me to do this. I sure appreciate it. So
Perfect. Awesome. Thanks, Jeff. Yeah, that's fantastic. So yeah, definitely want to encourage everyone to sign up for the next sessions. It's a 4-week with a 1-week work week in between. There's a Victoria Day weekend, so you'll be given some tasks to continue working on, or always to continue exploring that on the in-between week. But yeah, so thanks again to all our partners in making this project happen. We have the Canada Council for the Arts, our library partners, Blue Mountains Public Library, Collingwood Public Library, Wasaga Beach Public Library, and please do check out upcoming workshops. These will be posted. You can rewatch this through this Vimeo link. They'll be posted on YouTube down the road too. But for the instant early access, please do sign up through our website and Eventbrite to get access to these. And don't forget, you can check out some of the equipment, digital arts equipment, at the libraries too. So thanks again. Have a great rest of the day, and we'll see you next week in the next new masterclass. So take care.